In this video we're going to learn about something that we all take for granted nearly every day, and there might also be a bit of magic involved. My name's Scott McArthur and welcome to the Edge of Next vlog. This is where we look at interesting tools and techniques that can help you as we face the new norm. I believe we're on the edge of next and we have to think about things differently if we're going to avoid making the mistakes that we've made over the last 20 years, both personally and in our organisations. If this is your first time here, please hit the subscribe button, and if you hit the little bell, you'll ensure that you get a notification of any future videos that I do and you can become part of the conversation. Having spent a couple of decades working with people, specifically in the HR department, I've learnt quite a few things about how they tick and what makes them tick. But what you might not know is that I can also read minds. Now this comes from an ancient Scottish myth. No, not that sort of myth. This is a secret that if I told you, I'd have to kill you. But let me explain how this works. Now I said I can read minds, so let me just look at your mind and I'll see if I can guess what you're actually going to come up with at the end. Think. Try and make your mind go blank. Let me read it. Right, here we go. I've got it. Thanks very much. Now I've got to give you a warning here. There's some mental arithmetic about to happen. Now I know for some of us that's quite difficult, and as Boris and his friends demonstrated yesterday, even adults aren't very good at this. So to start with, what I'd like you to do is think of a number between 1 and 10. Get it in your mind, think about it. Don't tell me, but think about the number between 1 and 10. Now what I want you to do is, I want you to multiply that number by 9. So the number between 1 and 10 multiplied by 9. Now what I'd like you to do is add the two numbers together. Next, I want you to take 5 off of that number. Now the next step involves changing that number to a letter. So for example, if you've got 1, that would be A, 2, B, 3, C, 4, D, etc. So if you've got that letter, stick it in your mind and send it to me. Think about it. Thank you. Now what I want you to do is think of a country in Europe that starts with that letter you've got in your mind. So if it was 1, begins with an A, if it was 2, begins with a B, 3, C, etc, etc. Have you got it? Good. Again, think about it, don't say anything. Right, let's make this even better. What will we do? Right, I know what we'll do. Take the second letter of the country that you're thinking of and think of an animal, not a fish or a bird, an animal that starts with that letter. And let's ramp up the complexity a bit further. Think of the colour of that animal. Now keep it in your head, don't tell me. So if you went with me on that journey and you concentrated really hard, I wonder if that was your answer. Oh, and it was from Denmark, wasn't it? Now this exemplifies a problem that we have in society. We saw it yesterday in the United Kingdom when the government were announcing the latest numbers with the COVID pandemic. The government and their advisors stood in front of these charts all over the place, lots of lines everywhere, and expected people to understand it. What normally happens in that circumstance? Well, you get this sort of cynics who will never agree with anything the government says, but most people just take it for granted. It's something that they see as, oh, the government are giving us some data again. Yeah, let's go on with the second lockdown. The problem here is that many people very rarely start to think about what seems initially like the mundane. And that's why I went on at university to study psychology, because how we behave in those moments is actually really, really interesting, and it can go some way to explain how we behave in our personal lives and at work. At this point, I'd like to introduce you to something called the availability heuristic. The availability heuristic is a way of explaining why people have these immediate reactions that come into their head. Whenever they hear something on the news or in a conversation, they make assumptions very quickly based on what is immediately available to them. This explains why countries, towns, cities, villages, streets all think that they've got the best beer, the best bread, the best music. It's something that you have available to you, and you think just because it's available to you, it is the best. But I want us to change the way we think in relation to these things, both at work and in society. So how do we avoid the impact of the availability heuristic? Well, I've spoken previously, and it happened to also involve an elephant, about a subject that I love, and it's called cognitive diversity. And this is where we look at problems but with different people considering them along with you. So you're not just considering a problem about yourself on your own, you're bringing in your partner, your friends, colleagues, and probably even more important, sometimes strangers. And we can do that in the workplace as well. Companies often are victim of their own form of availability heuristics. And as we move into the future of work, I think we need to change the way we think in that context. So let's think about getting different people into our organisations to help us not just to see the elephant from Denmark, but to see that that was actually a maths trick that I could explain to you, but not today. So at this point, I'd like you to introduce, goodness sake, that's 3 times.